watch or a wee listen to that. Studs, how did you find the conversation go?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. To be perfectly honest, it was obviously. I mean, listening to those two guys, you've seen some. They've seen some total dross quarterbacks, especially when you're listening to how far back Dave's Chiefs fandom goes back, and then obviously Brad and I mean this is a guy I've followed him on Twitter for a while, and you know him he's been part of the Arrowheads Abroad podcast. He's now obviously doing his Across the Pond podcast, but he was also he was at the last Super Bowl that the Chiefs won in Miami. And I think three of the guys from the Arrowheads Abroad just decided they were going to fly over, and I think they actually entered a competition over in Miami and won tickets to the Super Bowl. There was some kind of crazy story about it, but the fact that they got to go there and witness that must have been incredible for those guys. So listening to those stories and obviously talking Chiefs for an hour was fantastic.
Guys, that'll be us in Super Bowl 60. We'll have to make that the target for. We all get the crew over for that Super Bowl. We get invited over. We get our own wee posh wee padded bit out there. Danny, you last night hosted the Eagles preview pod. That looked like a right good laugh. How did it go for you?
It was class. It was mental. Liam and Drake in particular, you just couldn't get a word in edgeways. But I was happy with that. I was happy just to let those guys go. Their knowledge, their enthusiasm for the Eagles and the game was apparent for all to hear and to see. Absolutely loved it. Liam had a bit of a deadline, but I think after his bottle of red wine, he was more than happy to put in an extra 20 minutes, go that extra time. And that was the first victory that the Eagles had over the Chiefs this week. We went an extra 5 minutes longer. So that was good. But no,
we Danny.
Sorry, as an Eagles fan.
Our podcast. But I was forced into making my prediction last night. I made it. I will go to stick to it. And yeah, I'm sure we'll get to that by the end of this show as well. But yeah, no, it was a brilliant podcast. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Really good group of guys. So no, good. It's really getting me fired up for this game.
I have to say, I was just going to say, Keith, I have to say, as like a neutral fan, I listened to both the podcasts this week, and I caught up with the Eagles one this earlier on today. Before I came on this one, and they're both fantastic listens. So if you've not checked them out yet, make them part of your listening this weekend before the Super Bowl, because they are really good for summarising some of the the narratives and what's going to be happening in the game.
I would also recommend watching the Eagles one on YouTube. You will see in the background at one point Drake has to mute himself and go chase his kids run about the garden in Florida. And it's tremendous viewing, so yeah, highly recommend that.
Oh, fantastic. It really was good. That's us, guys. Just while we're on the podcast just now, we've just hit our 500th follower on Twitter, which is wonderful because we are doing our prize giveaway over on Twitter just now. If you go to @Irn-Cru, follow us, retweet the pinned tweet that we have there, which is our Super Bowl giveaway. The first prize that we have is an NFL Nike game jersey, up to the value of £100. Our second prize is an NFL bobble hat of your choice. And our third prize is a Wilson NFL ball. I've got one up behind us there. That's my Nike one, but I've got a couple of the Wilson ones behind us ready to go. So get involved. It's totally free. Hopefully just that brings you into the crew and you get to know and love and appreciate us just like we do with all our fans and there. But that's not us. We've got a busy weekend ahead of us. Over the next couple of nights, we'll do some Twitter Spaces. Hopefully we'll get some of the wider crew members involved in that. And then on Sunday, we're going to have a live build-up to the match. Many of the crew members, we're all meeting up. Danny, you want to tell us a bit about that?
Well, where we're meeting up?
We're meeting up. We're Glasgow
Are we?
round. We're heading out.
Yeah, we are. No, I'm only kidding. No, yeah, we are. I guess Murdo. No, I was going to say Murdo and I will be heading off first, but with Brian from the far north, he's got his long drive down the A9 or whatever it is to come back to Glasgow. He's got him the weekend. Murdo and I are coming down as well. We're going to start early in Glasgow, go for a bite to eat, just get those stomachs lined before we start hitting some of Glasgow's finest, some big juicy, just to get us going, get us into the mood. Then we will all kick back, we'll all get together, we will have an absolute cracking podcast. I'm pretty sure everybody's going to be absolutely buzzing for it by this point. Stud's wee bumhole will absolutely making buttons, I'm sure. He's going to be strung high, so I'm looking forward to taking the utter piss right out of him. And
sure
then
Kev will be the same as well, remember?
Kev's too laid back for that. He'll keep it on the inside. You'll never know. He'll not even break sweat. Right?
I'm too easy wound up.
And then we are off. I think we're going to the Alea? It's pronounced Alea Casino in Springfield Key area, sort of thing in Glasgow. We'll go in there. I'm sure we'll have a great time. We'll all be kitted out, cheering every touchdown, every pass, every sack of Patrick Mahomes. I mean, every sack. I'm just getting you going the now, studs. I'm keeping it going. I'm building it, but so I cannot wait. A wee night over for me, and then I'll see how I am for to drive the next day. But I am guessing I'm not going to be fit enough to drive for at least 24 hours after what I intend to consume.
There's only so much wings can soak up in that time, isn't there? Thoroughly looking forward to it, mate. It'll be a right good laugh, and we'll do our prize draw on Sunday prior to the match. So already some people will be really happy and winning before the game's even kicked off. Right, time for our kick-off question to get it started. I never asked you, what one do you want to go for? Number 1 or number 2? Studs, it's your big weekend. You can choose.
I've no idea. I've not even had a chance to look at the question. So
we'll just pick one.
One of two. Come on. There's only 2 choices.
Gun ahead.
Listen, it's got to... everybody feels better after number 2, so you've got to go number 2.
Good choice.
Number 2 is number 2. Stu, was it yourself that posted this into the chat the other day?
No, it wasn't me, but I was drawing some flack for what I'll give you as part of my answer, so I'll save that for a few seconds. But was it you, Danny, who posted it in? Yeah. I'll
take credit for it. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but I'll take credit. Is it smart? Because it sounds like something I might come out with. Oh, yeah, it was me who posted it. So I'm definitely taking credit for this one. This one is going to...
I thought it was you.
I don't know. Sorry, Keith, I'm going to jump in here for it. Bet888, come up. What was your ideal Super Bowl viewing experience? You've got $15 to spend and you had the whole list. I don't know if you've got it there, Keith. But in the back of that, we had some amount of arguments going on in our WhatsApp group. People talking about cauliflower buffalo wings.
We were getting to that.
I'm sorry, I just had to jump in there 2-footed first, take you right out of the waist, because that is not on. Sorry, you can continue, Keith, with the actual question. I think just vent that anger, get that out there first.
Okay, so this is what a Twitter account posted. Build your dream Super Bowl Sunday. You've got £15 to spend, but it was looking at some of the options that he had there. So where are you watching the game? Are you watching at home, your local sports bar in the host city, nosebleed seats, or in a VIP box? What's your snack of choice? Cauliflower wings, okay, chips and dip, mac and cheese, pulled pork sliders, or chicken wings. Thought there would only be one winner there, of course. Who are you watching it with? Your partner who hates sport, your team's rival fans, on your own, all your mates, or your all-time favourite player. What are you wearing? Are you wearing your referee's uniform? Stu, I think that one's for you. I
think that's one for Studs.
He's a
literal referee.
I've got several behind me.
He's wearing one right now.
See, I wasn't even going there. I'm just like, yes, referee.
Referee's uniform, novelty pajamas, vintage sweater, NFL jersey, or custom leather jacket.
Sweater.
That's more Brian, isn't it? The custom leather jacket. And who's performing at halftime? Is it Harry Styles, Adele, the Foo Fighters, Drake, or Taylor Swift? Danny, what were you going for? What was your choice there?
Right, there's two main things. Right, Just the VIP box with your mates. Because anything else after that, I don't care.
Aye.
I don't even need to. I don't need to wear clothes. And to be honest, I'm going to be that drunk probably at halftime. I don't even care who's singing. But if we're going to be forced into it, I could be tempted then to jump to, say, the Foo Fighters, right? And I'm happy to go maybe a bit of chip and dip, and I'll wear some pajamas or referee uniform, whatever the $1 for $1 is, right?
Yeah,
Because
to me that works.
at the end of the day, as massive NFL fans, we all love it here. It's bucket list stuff we're talking about here. You want to be in a VIP box in, say, Phoenix, Arizona, right now this weekend with all your mates. What else is there to do in the world? I'm sorry, that would go kind of. No, I'm not going to go in this one about rating kids' births and stuff like that, but it'd definitely be at the top.
Definitely. What were your studs? What are you going for?
I think, again, as Danny says, a VIP box. I think we've all been in a VIP box at some point, whether it be at Motherwell or another football team in Scotland. The drinks are going to be flowing, so a VIP box is definitely the way to go. I genuinely I was conflicted with who I was watching it with, and the reason being is your all-time favourite.
There's a ghost
player.
at your house, studs.
That'll be the dog. He's like, how come you're not taking me a walk? So normally recently I've been listening to you guys and taking my walk at the same time, but I think, as I said, your favourite NFL player for me, I think would make it really interesting, but the conflicted side of me says that, well, right now, obviously my favourite NFL player now is probably between Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Chris Jones, just because the guy's a fucking beast now, and he's eating people every week. So if you're going to be sitting watching one of them, your team's not playing, so there's a conflict in that side of it. But and I'm with Danny. I think your mates is going to give the most banter. You're going to have an absolute fucking ball of a time if you're listening to your mate, sitting with your mates, absolutely wrecked, and then genuinely nothing else really matters apart from that side. I'm more concerned about the fact that Taylor Swift is more expensive than the Foo Fighters.
That was going to be my point. I was about to, or even Drake.
Don't dare.
Who is Drake?
Don't dare.
Drake's Canadian, and he's the curse of many a sports franchise. You probably don't want him there at halftime. Actually, he'll ruin it.
Get him in the bin. No, I mean, but
Harry.
Things like this don't happen to people like me every day, or whatever it was he said in his ridiculous acceptance speech. Like, I couldn't believe it. Sorry, Mr. Privilege. Like,
sorry, but the Foo Fighters are cheaper than Taylor Swift for me is just bizarre.
Taylor Swift is the genius songwriter of our generation, and it's about time that you recognised, son, and bowed at the feet of our Aryan Queen. She is fantastic.
Did you just say Aryan Queen? I don't know if you can say that.
I don't think I meant that. No,
what kind of podcast is this turning into?
You meant Targaryen Queen.
Jesus. Aye, Targaryen Queen. Targaryen Queen is what I meant.
Targaryen, you said Aryan Queen.
Aye, right. Move on, right.
Moving on. So, VIP box.
Keeps a closet Nazi.
Hold on. I've got a feeling that's got to be the least controversial thing coming up in this section. So,
I'm ready.
Go for it. We've been holding back too long. What are you going to be eating at your Super Bowl party?
Well, hold on here. Like, I need to clarify this because my whole stance was based on this poll's kind of broken because the top place you can watch it is a VIP box. So my theory with the VIP box is after having been in, a few for NHL games, you get unlimited food anyway, so you can have whatever you want. So I said, I'll have the chicken wings and the cauliflower wings. It wasn't I was choosing cauliflower wings over chicken. I would never do that. But what I was saying as well was cauliflower wings are very tasty as an accompaniment for chicken wings. Why not have both?
Look at the disgusted Danny's face, honestly.
He's still disgusted. Do you know who stood up for me? The only person who stood up for me was the stinking Browns fan. Brian!
Why am I not surprised?
And Smudger stuck up for me too, but Brian!
I've got nothing to say, to be honest. I think this is the end of our friendship. I'm just glad there's about 8,000 miles between us right now, because I'd have intended to come round and give you a right good thrashing.
You know what? Come to my house. I'll make cauliflower wings for you, and you can try them, and you will like them.
I bet your arse I will not get near them.
Like
Why do people intend like, oh look, we've got cauliflowered rice, it tastes just like rice? No, it doesn't. It tastes like cauliflower and it's shit, right? So
I'm not trying to say that the cauliflower wings taste like chicken wings. That's why I've got chicken wings too.
Exactly. Why not just keep chicken and coat them in Frank's hot sauce and we'll all have a great time?
Do the cauliflower as well.
Leave the cauliflower in the ground where it belongs, or feed it to your rabbit, right? It just should not be on a plate near a Super Bowl.
For more cooking tips, you can follow Stu on his TikTok with his air fryer adventures there. Moving swiftly on. Taylor swiftly on.
We're done with the food.
Let's have a wee look at the news. For this week. Roger Goodell, nice shout out Iron Man. You hardly ever hear from him. He was on this week. Of course, it's the run up to the Super Bowl, so he's got to get his Tupperworth in. He was talking about the refs, saying that they are of the high standard that they've ever been. Is that something you agree with? I'll go to Studs then for this one. Being a Kansas City Chiefs fan and big fan of the refs, are you happy with the standard of officiating this season?
Oh, Danny's getting stretched out there up at the top. He's desperate to hear this one. Listen, I think I did say it on a previous pod. There's been decisions went against every single team this season. There's been times where I've been shouting at the refs for missed calls. It's too desperate to jump in as well. If we're focusing solely on the Bengals game, I'd even said I think there was probably missed holds on both sides. To be perfectly honest. The missed block in the back was the obvious one, and I did mention to Stu during the game the Frank Clark one on Joe Burrow, which was, to say that was egregiously missed is beyond laughable. So I think, being a referee myself, I do totally agree with your statement at the end of the day in terms of we are humans, mistakes are going to be made, and I know I've said in our chat in the past, maybe it's a bit of naivety for me, but from a refereeing standpoint, I don't think a referee goes into one game to favour the other. I would like to believe that's not the case because, obviously I referee amateur level and I do it because I enjoy it. I love it. These guys are doing it at professional level. It's not their full-time job at the end of the day. They're doing it because they've got a love for the game. Of course they're going to make mistakes. I do think we need to cut them a bit of slack, but then you're talking about how do they get better, then that falls on the NFL to start provide them better training for me.
Yeah.
There goes to Studs is coming out with the old that'll even itself out over the course of a season. Are you want to throw that party line there?
You know what? I said I was over it with the Cincinnati and the Kansas Chiefs, the Chiefs game. And I'm going to stick to that. It's in the past. I can't do anything about it now. Sometimes these things you have to let them go. The one thing I will say, and it's just like an observation of all professional sports now, and this is where I actually feel a bit sorry for the referees when you're not seeing like the egregious mistakes. It's just the missed holds and things like that. Sport is played at such a high level now, and it's so fast. Because obviously, you guys all know I watch the NHL, and I'm big into that. Hockey is so quick, even compared to what it was. 20 years has seen like a massive improvement in terms of like player agility, speed, whatever. And people are mad in the NHL all the time as well. Every single night, it's always like the refs missed this, the refs missed that. There's so many cameras. How can they not do this? It's like, well, there's only so many things that are reviewable by camera, and hockey stops so much. And football stops so often as well, as just using those as the kind of main points. I think just with the level that the athletes are at now, sometimes it is hard for the referees. And I don't know if you just need to train harder and be fitter, Studs. Is that maybe what it is? You just need to...
For me, aye. I probably need to stop drinking, but aye.
No, but I mean, even then, like the NFL level, it's like these guys have worked hard to get where they are. In terms of like the whole fixed games and dodgy decisions and things happening, I do think it's kind of hard to do because I remember there was a guy I spoke to when I at work years ago, when I was an American guy, and he was a referee in the NFL as well. He was out working in Saudi Arabia, and obviously in the off season. And he was telling me how it worked, like in terms of when they get their games at the weekend. He's like, oh yeah, basically during the season on a Wednesday night, I'll leave my house, and he lived in Portland or whatever, he was up that way. So he would basically leave his house, he would get taken in a car to the airport, he would fly to another city, so that he wouldn't know if he was doing the Thursday night game or not. And then in the morning of the Thursday, he would find out if he was refereeing that game, and then he would then get flown. If he wasn't, he would then get another set of tickets. He would get flown somewhere else, and he would stay there till the Saturday night. Still wouldn't know what game he was doing. Then he would get his tickets on Sunday morning to fly him to wherever he was actually meant to be going. He's like, you would be in a kind of area, like, a geographic area, so you'd know I'm probably doing a Northeast game or whatever, but you don't know what game you're doing until it's kind of closer to the time.
See, that's bonkers to me. Do you know what I mean? It's like, how are you meant to mentally prepare from a referee standpoint if you're constantly moving before a game and you're not known until a couple of hours before kickoff? I mean, mental preparation, even from a player's perspective, is massive. Right. These guys are making game-changing decisions. It's mental preparation is huge. So to be bounced about, that's not fair. That's not right.
Yeah. No,
Danny,
of course. I was going to say,
Danny, go for it, Stu.
I was just going to say, I'll proviso that with, obviously for games like the Super Bowl and that, the Crew's, they're announced in advance. So, the big games, like who's going to be doing the playoff games and all that stuff. But I think this was more regular season. So,
one of the listeners that we've got, the guy I used to work with, Dan Connor, who's a massive Cowboys fan. Hopefully get him on the podcast over the summer holidays. His dad used to be a referee in the NFL Europe games. So maybe interesting if we could get a chat with him sometime to see their perspective. One of the things that I'd heard this week when I was listening to other podcasts was how people are feeling sorry for the referees because they're under so much scrutiny, and the amount of cameras that are at games and how quickly replays can be brought back up. And it's almost a thankless job where eventually it'll probably end up going to on just being all done via camera by VAR. We've seen it with the football in Scotland this season, how VAR is pretty much taking something special away from it, that spontaneity. Is it something that you'd like to see a wee bit more of, actually having like the Sky referee? Or would you rather that just these guys accept that they're going to make mistakes? Or would you happy to continue as we are?
Who, me? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Danny.
I'm just.
That was a long-winded question.
Sorry, mate. I'm just thinking there's far too much love for referees here. I think they're all fucking cheats, right? and if they're no cheats, they're just completely incompetent at best. I'm sorry, but they've been absolutely atrocious this year. Even Jamar Chase called them out today around the NFL. He was a wee bit podcasted. He was a wee bit more tactful with it because he knows he'll probably end up getting fined. But he did pretty much say they cost us, and I agree. And it's not even that game. It's been throughout the whole season. There's been terrible calls and just about the most, mundane games. Texans versus the Titans or something like that. It's not worth anything. They're still missing calls. So it's not just the big games. It's every game, and they're consistently bad. They need something done about it. I'd be happy to get rid of them all. Go to Skynet. Go to the guy Miles. What's he called? The guy that breathes and can't he breathe right in Terminator 2? And then because he gets shot, I'd go get him. Go and get a whole load of robot referees and do it properly, right? Just get robots in to referee because they'll do it right. At the end of the day, right, this is a multi-billion-dollar business, right? And all of that, like, how much time and effort we put into watching this, we put our hearts and souls in this, just to get it broke by some dick dressed as a zebra who can't see something that's happening 3 yards in front of him. So I am well against them. I want a revolution to happen. I think Roger Goodell has allegedly perhaps been, maybe furnished his palm with some paper of some description with some presidents' heads on it or something, because it is an absolute farce. They've not been better. They're getting worse, and they seem to be getting worse every year, allegedly.
I like how this one's going to end with a TD 1000 getting lowered into some molten lava, giving a touchdown.
You lose the big one in RoboCop, the big
Ed 209.
Ed 209. You have 5 seconds to comply. 5-yard penalty. Can you imagine?
I want to see
You've got 5 seconds to comply.
I want to see Kalina getting lowered into the lava, giving the thumbs up on the way down because he was the only good referee.
Just firing flags at them.
Jared, T1000 or Jeremy Boger or whatever he's called, there is no. We might as well bow down to our AI overlords now, because it's going to happen. So we might as well just go for it.
See, on the Roger Goodell side, do you honestly think he is going to come out and slate the referees in a public forum as in Media Row Super Bowl week, when the whole world is watching what's going on in NFL, the build up to the game? They've had a week of quiet, and now they're on this. There is no way Roger Goodell is going to come out and say the officiating's been worse. He may go behind closed doors and say, by the way, that was bullshit what I said. You better get this sorted. Because if he goes out publicly and does that, the refs will go on strike or all sorts. He'll have no referees and there'll be no NFL games next year if he come out publicly and says that.
It's all right. Be able to ship them into Luxembourg in different leagues like they did in Scotland.
We've all been
They bring in the Romanian refs, and it's like, who's won the Super Bowl this year? Dinamo Bucharest. No, hold on. I do have one nice thing to say about the refs in officiating. Recently, during the Pro Bowl, it was absolutely excellent. See that Huntley trying to run it in sequence, and then the refs are like, "Nah, you can't do that." That was absolutely, you're in the no-run zone. So that was brilliant.
The Pro Bowl refs were that's the positive. The Pro Bowl refs. The thing is, I genuinely think I do take Danny's point on board, right? See, the thing is, we've all sat and watched our teams, probably more specifically than the rest of the games, right? Now, I know Danny's going to go to the Vikings and say that game the referee screwed us, and
Hunter Henry was a catch.
See, so, but again, I'm pretty sure that in watching our teams weekend, obviously Stu's going to go to the championship game, but there's been games in the season where I know I've been frustrated at refs during the Kansas City games. And Keith, I'm sure whether you were watching the Packers or the Seahawks, then you would have been able to pick out instances.
I'll be honest,
that was just Rodgers screwing up.
I'll be honest, a man at the back there, Big DK, get away with a couple towards the end of the season. So.
Was it Jalen Ramsey? He grabbed his face mask.
Aye, aye.
We had Jesse Bates getting the Oscar. You remember, for his performance?
Oh, he's
well. We want to make the change in time.
Who was that against, Stu?
Who was that against? Was it no use?
It was against us. See what we're saying about shit evening out, Stu? Do you start to
anyway, moving swiftly on. Next topic, Keith. Next topic.
And moving swiftly on. I think the Hall of Fame candidates have been announced. The finalists have been announced, but we'll maybe have a wee look at that next week. I think we move on to the main course. The main we've had all our appetizers. We're on to the main feast of this week, and it is this weekend Super Bowl.
Is it cauliflower wings?
The cauliflower bowl.
We have been building up to this all year. It's been an incredible season. At times it feels like it's absolutely flown in. I'm really looking forward to the match on Sunday. The preview pods have just really whet my appetite, and I'm just desperate to get to it. Last season's was entertaining. It was a bit one-sided in the end, but I'm looking forward to this one. This looks like a battle, Clash of the Titans, big time. What we're looking forward to most then for the game on Sunday? Is there any key matchups, players on either side that you're looking forward to? What are you looking forward to most about it then? Stu, I'll come to you first.
I think I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with the battle of the lines. I know you guys talked about it extensively on both those podcasts during the week there, and that for me is the main story of this. Will the Chiefs O-line hold up against that Eagles defensive line? Like, can they do it? Are they going to keep Mahomes away? I know he's now he practiced in full, so hopefully he's over the. He didn't look too bad against us. Like, you did see him second guessing sometimes when he was going to run, and he would have a bit of a whoa, here we go. But he still looked very mobile against us. So hopefully, for the sake of the game, he's even better this weekend. But if I'm the Eagles, the first thing I'm going to be doing early on is trying to get him moving, just to see how flexible he is with that ankle.
Testing the legs, Stu.
Yeah,
Is that what you're
testing.
doing?
Well,
test
no,
ankle.
Test the face mask or whatever it was that Grant was talking about. But
That was your hero, Chrissy Boyd, that started that one, and it just filtered into the chat.
He's kind of went down in my books quite a bit since he retired. So the further he's moved away from Kelly, the further down that Chris Boyd is went. You have a Chris Boyd? Do you know? Is he still there at the Chiefs? Is he gone now?
I think he's gone. There was a Chris Boyd kicking about, to be fair, because we were making jokes about it.
Aye. Anywho, back to what I was talking about. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see that, but then also the other side, it's going to be interesting to see what the Chiefs' defence can do to what's probably the best O-line, at least for pass protection in the league currently, because, I mean, I know we basically had the equivalent of me and Brian, like starting at left and right tackle versus the Chiefs, but you guys were shredding us. Like Chris Jones was on fire, so I'll be interested to see if he can keep that going, because obviously big game. He's a big game player, so I want to see what the Chiefs defense can do against the Eagles offensive line as well. So that for me is the big battle.
Yeah,
there's so many wee stories that are coming up, Danny, this weekend. The brothers that are facing against each other. The battle. The wide receivers, the quarterbacks, the first two black quarterbacks to face each other in a Super Bowl final as well. So many interesting wee stories. What one are you most looking forward to?
I want to see what's going to happen with the Kansas City wide receivers. They're a bit banged up, going up against that secondary with Brandon Ayuk. I've mentioned it a couple of times, saying that, they're finally, that passing game is going to expose the Eagles' defense. And again, we touched on it in the last night's pod. Potentially, fine well with the genius that is Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes behind there. Do you double team Kelsey? Does that free up a MVS or a Juju? But again, I didn't see tonight's injury report, but the last I seen, I think Juju was full practice. Tony was limited practice. Obviously, to finish that Bengals game severely banged up. How would they got to go up against James Bradbury, Darius Slay, Avonte Maddox, Gardner Johnson? That's a pretty good secondary in there. And that's a matchup. I kind of agree with Stu. I absolutely love the lines. That's going to be fascinating to watch. Both sides, both all lines, D lines, battling off against each other. I think I've got number 1, number 2 there, both sides. But it will be. I'm just, because I think this is where this game can be won or lost. I think it's down to, can you rely in Marcus Valdes-Scantling to actually have the ball, I guess, to win it in the big stage. He obviously had an absolute game in that championship matchup. But again, when you maybe look at Tyreek Hill in the past, making these big plays, if Tony's a bit banged up, he's not fully fit. He never seems to be fully fit at that. Juju's maybe not quite there either. For me, that will be interesting, because that's, I think, how KC win this game. They need Mahomes magic with Kelsey doing his thing, but they also need a other wide receiver to have an absolute day. And I think it then comes out, and can that secondary really put the brakes on some of those speedy wideouts that they've got there? So that's the one I cannot wait to see.
Studs, one of the big stories, of course, and I just touched on it earlier, was the Kelsey brothers facing off against one another. Before we get to your own personal one, what do you make? Who do you think is going to be the one that comes out on top in that battle?
obviously, I'm hoping for Travis Kelce to be the one that comes out on top, and I do think it's one of the ones. And I know Danny and the guy says on the pod last night, just how do you stop him? Do you know what I mean? It always seems to go on, whether you double team him or not. He always seems to find space. But again, Jason Kelce has been frightening for not even just this year, for a number of years. He has been the anchor for that O-line for probably his whole time in Philadelphia. So he is fascinating watching, even in the, let me think, what was it, the divisional game? Or the Giants were coming in, bigging themselves up. They were Giants were confident coming into that game against the Eagles, and probably maybe mouthing off a wee bit. And again, I think they had every right to be confident. They'd played well against the Vikings. They'd made it to the playoffs. But watching Jason Kelce deal with what the Giants thought was a very good D-line, and big sexy Dexy, he was getting swung about like an empty packet of fags. Do you know what I mean? They just, and again, it's not, there was a size difference. Look at the size difference in the two of them. It was like, Kelce's so much weird, but he just absolutely dominated them. So I think, and again, Brad and Dave kind of touched on it, looking at what the Chiefs done with the Bengals, mixing up the looks on the D-line, moving Chris Jones around, and we moved him around a lot against the Bengals, leaving that gap where the centre didn't really know who am I blocking, which way am I going. If we can get that kind of miscommunication into that Eagles O-line, then I think that's going to be key. For me, again, Chris Jones, I think you're looking at him to have a massive game. He's probably been the most disruptive nose tackle in the game this year, and include Aaron Donald in that statement. I think Chris Jones has had I think Chris Jones, from that position standpoint, I don't think there's anybody touching him this year. Do you know what I mean? And again, Frank Clark is 3 sacks away from being the all-time sack leader in the postseason. This guy, again, we mentioned it in the pod on Tuesday, he seems to have a habit of picking up in the postseason to the extent where you're watching him in the regular season and you're like, well, if we cut Frank Clark, I'm not that worried about it. And then he starts getting into the postseason, it's like, oh, wait a minute, Clark's sacked him again. Oh, there's Frank Clark again. Wait, shit, there he's again. And you're like, actually, do you know what? Do we just keep him and just deal with the regular season stuff and just let him fly in the postseason? So I think these guys are all going to be key. And again, Danny's touched on it. For me, it is going to be fascinating watching these rookies go up against probably AJ Brown. I mean, the guy's a fucking man mountain, and he's ripped out his tits. He's huge. You're going to be seeing 4 rookies in our. Is it 4 rookies in our secondary? I think it is, going up against him and Devontae Smith. And again, Devontae Smith isn't the biggest, but AJ Brown pulling looks opens up Devontae Smith. It's going to be a fascinating challenge for these boys.
Dallas Goddard game. Sorry, that's just because you're actually saying that there. I can see this being in Dallas Goddard game. You know, he's going to get. I can see him playing almost a Kelce type role. I think he's going to find himself in a bit of space there. I think it'll just depend on what kind of look Spags is kind of going to start throwing at that Eagles O-line. If they start blitzing a bit more, I think Goddard is going to just be able to chip off the line and find himself in a bit of soft zone right behind, or just right in front of the secondary there, and I think he'll be able to pick up a good few yards after the catch. That's
when you're looking at Willie Gay Jr. and Nick Bolton to kind of really up their game. And I mean, Nick Bolton's just an absolute machine. Second season, I think he's a captain already in that defence. And again, I know Brad touched on it. You can see him actually calling out. If he's not a captain just now, you can see him calling out the plays when we're on defence behind that D-line. So you can actually see him sitting doing that. And for a second year linebacker to be doing that is scary to think how good he can get, because he's only going to grow.
More often than not, it's the quarterbacks that will end up being the difference makers in these games, the MVPs. So I'll let you choose then. Who do you want to discuss more then? Who do you think will be the biggest one? Is it going to be Hurts in his first Super Bowl, or is it going to be Mahomes that's going to be the one that just, I think this is his third Super Bowl, isn't it? He's got chip on his shoulder since the last one.
Yep, one is first.
You think his experience is going to be a wee bit too much for Hurts, or has Hurts still got that confidence of youth and the way that the team itself has been playing for the Eagles? Has he got that mental strength to take them through, drag them through to a Super Bowl here?
I honestly, experience counts for a lot in my book, but there's just something about the Eagles and the way they've been rolling towards this. I know we've had all the debates all year about have they played anybody really good, and I've been part of that discussion. A lot of it's been trolling, just because I like to wind up Eagles fans because it's funny. But you know me, I like the odd troll. But no, I'm fancying Hurts to go in there and have a good game, because he has just looked cool, calm and collected every time he's been asked to look cool, calm and collected all year. I know the Super Bowl is a different kind of beast. But Mahomes won it when we was there on his first time. Joe Burrow never won it, but he looked pretty good last year for us. He almost did it kind of thing, and he just came up short against a very good Rams team. Yeah, for me though, I think that Hurts, just with the weapons he has round about him, and rookie, that's the other thing too, is talking about the experience. As Studs, you just alluded to, you have a lot of rookies in your secondary. And we have, guys like AJ Brown and Goddard on the other side of the ball coming up against them. So I could see Hurts having a bit of a day, possibly. That's not to say that Mahomes won't have a day too. I think it's going to be pretty high scoring. But I think Hurts is the guy for this one, if I have to pick.
Well, we spoke about this last night. The over-under was sitting at 51 yesterday. So, at least the bookies don't think it's going to be particularly high scoring. And I think you've actually got to look back at the last two trips to the Super Bowl for Mahomes, and his stats are pretty poor at best. I think his passer rating or whatever it is I actually don't remember it off the top of my head. I was trying to find it out there quickly, but it's pretty low, especially for Mahomes standard. It's actually sort of average QB sort of level. His touchdown interception ratio isn't particularly great either in the Super Bowl. Although we know he can step up and do that fourth sort of quarter magic, and he's got that in his sleeve. But again, getting up against a beast like the Eagles, who to me are a better team through the first 11, first 22, whatever you want to say, both sides of the ball. I think, although like the Eagles guys commented on last night, probably their weakness is their depth and strength. They don't really have a lot. If their first team goes down, they're going to be struggling. So, yeah, although Mahomes has been there, he's not exactly shone. Although he's won MVP, you could look at his stats of that game and say, well, really, was it deserved? Probably for his fourth quarter alone, if you're doing it with anything. So, yeah, I fancy the Eagles, but I don't know if it'll be Hurts will MVP.
Yeah.
I think one of the things with Mahomes that seemed to be the issue, that just having a quick look when you mentioned that there, Danny, was the number of turnovers that he's had in the Super Bowls, and it could be the nerves that there get to him. And the one that he won, he finished with 26 for 42 and 286 yards with 3 total touchdowns. But then for the one against the Bucks when they lost, Super Bowl 55, 26 for 49. Pretty similar stats there in 270 yards, but with 2 interceptions and failing to throw a touchdown pass in the game.
But
that was the big difference there.
On that side, you've also got to remember the fact that he's threw for 270 odd yards, but he's probably ran for about 5,000 that day. It was ridiculous. There was no O-line. He was going side to side.
Bag for O-line.
You had running backs letting the ball hit their face mask whilst he's flying through the air. Darrell Williams, I've still not forgive you for that one. So
was that the greatest incomplete pass in the world? Was that one?
That was that one. It was frightening to see the angle of his body whilst he's still. And the thing is, he
still
put that
incomplete.
Still incomplete, but he put it on the money. The receiver's got to catch it. It's on the money. Do you know what I mean? So
it should be on the body rather than the face. So I mean, I don't know if it's on the money.
Got to adjust. You've got to be able to adjust when your quarterback's mid-air. Do you know what I mean? Even the first one, obviously, aye, fourth quarter alone. I'll be honest, I'm nodding my head when I say when Danny was saying should have got MVP. There is an obvious argument for his fourth quarter heroics with that jet chip wasp play, changed the whole complex of that game. Nick Bosa's charging him down and he launches that ball straight into Tyreek Hill 40, 50 yards downfield. For me, the only other player on that day that you could have argued for MVP was Damien Williams. Damien Williams had an absolute tremendous day that day. I think he got 2 touchdowns, 120 something yards, something like that. He was the argument for MVP that day, but I think probably more recency bias in the fact that Mahomes come back, whereas Williams was doing it throughout the game and keeping us moving in the game. Mahomes had his fourth quarter come back to kind of. Did Mahomes no rush a touchdown in that day as well? Actually,
you tell us
better than us.
I was pissed.
I think Mahomes rushed in the first touchdown for us that day, and
but you see my kind of point there though, and you've just sort of said it. You know, out of 8 quarters that he's played in the Super Bowl, he's had 1 good quarter.
Aye, but you can give him you can give him a pass in the Tampa one because that we were so banged up on O-line against the number 1 defense in the league that year. Now
I'm just
we're against the number 1.
He shot it. His bottle went and he shot it. He went up against the goat and he shot it.
No, that loss was not in Mahomes. He did everything physically possible to get us moving that day. And again, this time our O-line isn't banged up. We've spent money on it. It kept them clean against a very good Bengals defense in the championship game where you've got the likes of Trey Hendricks who had been dominating people on the Bengals side. So hopefully these guys can keep them clean again. My worry's probably, and again I said this on the pod on Tuesday, my worry's probably Hassan Reddick, what we're going to do to deal with him. Are we going to put Orlando Brown in there? Is he going to be the one that's going to be responsible for it? Are we going to put a Noah Gray in there or a Jody Forston? And we all seen how that went when the last backup tight end for the 49ers went in to protect the quarterback. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they deal with Hassan Reddick.
Well, we've got the experience of Mahomes playing in his 3rd Super Bowl against the relative rookie QB in a Super Bowl and Hurts. That is kind of mirrored in the coaches as well, with the old Andy Reid and Sirianni up against each other. How do you think that one's going to come out between the two? Is Andy Reid been holding stuff back, Danny, for this matchup? Maybe some things that Sirianni's side maybe not seen, or how do you think this is going to go?
Oh, undoubtedly. In fact, it's no stuff he's holding back. It's stuff he's probably thinking about in the morning. When he's doing his morning dump, reading the paper, and he'll come up with a play there and then. He'll just see it in the drips as it running down his shower curtain or something like that. It'll be like one of these scenes in A Beautiful Mind, just all of a sudden glare up to him and go, and that's the play. That's the genius of Andy Reid.
Yeah.
But again, it's one of these things, though. It's always sort of the first 15 plays are all scripted, and the other ones you're going to see how they then play. And I'm pretty sure they'll have a trick play up the sleeve. But again, it's just going to be absolutely fascinating going up against that Eagles D, though, because again, I think it's a different beast that we've probably seen all season. I don't think they're really went up against, and well, yeah, I'd say they're probably not going up against a team just as dominant as that. I know Lou Amorino, it's set the Bengals up well, but again, I think just look at talent, particularly in that D line. You're talking about, you're worrying about Hassan Reddick, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat. Who's the other one? I've definitely forgot another one in there. But you know what I mean?
In there as well.
They can rush the passer from many, many different places. If you want to put Orlando Brown on Reddick, that's fine. He's just got to pull him out of position, leave a glaring gap somewhere, and Fletcher Cox or Brandon Graham will find their way in there as well. So, it's going to be fascinating to see what he comes up with. But yeah, that wily old cat, that old fox that he is definitely going to come up with quite a few trick plays I can see for this. It's not going to be a ring of roses though this time. I think they're going to... What would be pretty cool if they did pull out the Philly special on them, though?
I've heard somebody saying that. In fact, I have heard on a podcast this week that would be fantastic to see the Chiefs pulling the Philly special on them.
But with a twist. With a twist. It'll
be Caelan Saunders charging in for a touchdown or something like that for the defensive line.
Yeah.
He'll be your centre or something like that. Will be made eligible or something like that and find his way in
a
big touchdown instead.
Yeah. I was going to say, I wonder if you'll try the Kelsey thing he did against us. Remember the lateral? Remember the lateral attempt against us in the championship game? When the pass went to Kelsey. The pass went to Kelsey and then he went to...
Kelsey tried to lateral to...
the hook and ladder?
Or something. Hook ladder.
Yeah.
And he fumbled it, essentially.
Yeah.
So it genuinely wouldn't surprise me. I think the snow globe was just done purely because it was the Raiders, essentially. So I think doing that against a divisional rival was where that kind of came from. I can't see as people say it's disrespectful. For me, I just seen it as a bit of fun, a bit of a laugh.
Was it no reference to the bus going round the? Remember they drove round Arrow?
I've heard that as well. So a couple of seasons ago when the Raiders.
If the Raiders did it to you, you'd be raging, mate. Don't even lie. You were raging. Did they not do something on your wee logo or something like that once, and you were like, "Oh, get your knickers on a wee twist about it"? Just admit it.
Did they not start doing their team talk on the? I think I was laughing about it, to be fair. Like, doing their team talk on the logo, but that seemed to be the kind of done thing that season. The Raiders were the only ones.
Seething.
But what did we have to be seething about? We went out and dominated them, and even in that play, I don't really see what the Raiders have got to be complaining about, because it called back for a flag and then we scored a touchdown in the next play. So
was
that
your
matter.
Third, fourth, fifth, or sixth down?
Eighth, I think.
Right, gentlemen, we've covered the Super Bowl extensively this week. Let's get to the real important parts of the Super Bowl, the halftime show. Riri is going to be doing it. I've got a copy of the official program here, and I don't know if you can see it on the back there, but she's looking like, what was it? The thing with the Grouch face, Sesame Street. Oscar the Grouch face, Sesame Street, or the Grinch a wee bit there. What's your alternative predictions for the Super Bowl? What mishap do you think is going to happen? What outrageous thing do you think could be everybody talking about after the match that's got nothing to do with the actual game?
Jackson Mahomes storms the stage and tries some fucked up TikTok dance next to her, and is rugby tackled by 7 big security guards, brought to the ground with a broken leg. We can all but wish.
And we all rise to applause.
I don't know if I want him getting broken leg or something, but that would be pretty funny, to be fair. don't want to see anybody getting hurt. Do you know what I mean? But that would.
I'll
be
make exceptions. I don't know. With costume slippage again, Janet Jackson style.
Oh yes.
I was thinking that there's got to be a nip slip in here somewhere.
From you?
Nip slip. There'll definitely be one for me in the casino. There's no doubt about that amount I'm drinking.
I was going to say, do you remember the last time? Sorry, this is going to have to mind. The last time we watched the Super Bowl together, you end up spewing in the toilets, and I was the one that get banned for drinking. How did that one work?
I literally did not see the second half. I sat with my head on the table for the full second half. I could not even see.
So that, ladies and gentlemen, is why we're having a podcast before the Super Bowl, not one post-match.
Post-match.
So have a spaces post-match.
I'd fear the Chiefs weren't in that one, so I wasn't giving a shit.
The other big thing, big news for the weekend coming up is you've got the trailers for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, The Flash, Fast X, Ant-Man the Wasp, Quantumania, The Little Mermaid, guys. My favourite Disney movie. I'm not even joking about that.
There's some excitement about that one around my house.
It's a redhead thing. You just would never get it.
She's still got a redhead. Have they still got a redhead? I know there was a lot of outcry from
I think she still
goes online.
I think she's still got red hair.
African American.
I I
It's
thought the
officially
trailer I
the-
seen.
It's officially it doesn't matter. Skin color does not matter for this, even though we talked about being the Aryan leader, Taylor Swift or whatever it was you said earlier on.
Targaryen. Misspoke. Thank you, Danny, for that save. That's getting edited out anyway, by the way.
Too bad it was live on YouTube.
Aye, that's all the wee razzmatazz around it. Looking forward to the trailers, watching them whilst hungover on Monday morning, watching all them.
That's got to kill me. Can you imagine watching the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer and we Rocket the Raccoon and stuff? I'm going to be in tears.
Dungeons and Dragons as well. Transformers. There's another Transformers. Rise of the Beasts. The one we've all been waiting for, guys, isn't it?
Starring Alan McGregor and Deshaun Watson.
I knew you were going to talk to Sean Watson. Come on, Danny, man.
Writes itself.
Terrific. Right.
I was literally going to say, Danny, don't, and then you fired it straight away.
Moving swiftly on, we've got our statistic of the week. Over to you, Stu.
Statistic of the week. So we're going back to the Super Bowl with this one, obviously, seeing as it's the Super Bowl week. So this one, the teams wearing white jerseys have won 15 of the last 18 Super Bowls. And so that with the exception of 3 teams, one of them was the Packers beating the Steelers, the Eagles beating the Pats, and then the Chiefs beating the Niners. They were wearing red then. The thing is the Chiefs have wore red in all of their Super Bowl appearances, I think. So you've only won, have you not? Oh, no, sorry.
Oh, no, we did.
In recent years.
Aye.
Yeah, recent years, sorry. So yeah, you've won 1 of the 3 so far in recent years. So we'll see how you do this weekend because you're in red again, aren't you, studs?
No, we're all white.
No,
You're all white.
You're all
they're all
white.
white.
I thought it was the other way
That's
around.
We're white on white.
That's the wee marginal gains that you'd think that Andy Reid would be looking at.
Aye.
Like a film that he watches, he'd notice that and go, just that wee bit a psychological edge that we're going to get with the other team.
Aye. I think the all-time record's something like 29 white to 15 coloured jerseys as well. So it's definitely in favour of the white team. However, as I just said, the Eagles did win wearing green a few years ago, so they do have previous for bucking the trend.
We're white and white, gold end zones from what I've seen as well. So they look pretty sweet. Sort of yellow. Gold, yellow.
Try to make it fancier. Stop polishing that turd, right? Yellow.
That leaves us just to bring this monstrosity to guys, thank you very much. I've had an absolute blast with you. Remember, we have our competition over on our Twitter. That's the pinned tweet. You can get it there. Retweet, like, and tag in 3 pals, and you've got a chance of winning a NFL Nike team jersey, a bobble hat, and a Wilson NFL replica ball. Preview pods are there. They're fantastic. We'll have a listen, and as I said, we'll have some Twitter spaces over the weekend. Love you to get involved. Some questions for that, and we'll have our live build up on Sunday afternoon. Studs, it's been an absolute pleasure, my friend. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, however way it goes for you.
Cheers, man. Fingers crossed it's positive and I can console Kev and as he cries into his beer whilst I laugh.
Stu, I hope you and the rest of the Canadians watching it have a wonderful time. Are you doing anything special for it?
Well, it's Pamela's birthday as well, so we're going to just be having a few drinks in the house, watching the game, and then having a birthday cake after it. Pavlova, actually, so it's not really a cake, but she loves Pavlova, so I'm going to make that for her. Fantastic. On Sunday.
You are an absolute keeper, my friend.
I'll just point something out. I was just going to say, I'll just point something out. We missed our score predictions because of all that chaos with the cauliflower and the possible Nazi support. Everything else. We missed our score predictions for the game.
This episode is the lost episode, ladies. Yeah. That is not making it to podcast form. I'll tell you that right now.
I'm calling it 31-28 Eagles.
We'll get our score predictions put up on the Twitter over the weekend. Dancer, I Cannot wait to see you on Sunday, my friend.
It's got to be awesome. Honestly, I'm absolutely buzzing for it. It's just Monday off work as well. It's just something to look forward to. All the week for me, this has been like the carrot and the donkey, and we're almost there. Cannot wait to see you all.
Amazing. Thanks very much for listening. You can like and subscribe on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. Just search Grid Irn-Cru, IRNCRU. Have a wonderful weekend. Look forward to speaking to you all next week. Thanks for listening.